Welcome back to Sunday Sauce Sports. I am your host, Grant, joined here today with the four Paisans, Matt, Carmine, Rob, and Paul. And today we are starting our series of breaking down the NFL. We are going division by division, and today we are starting off with the AFC and NFC North. So I'm going to hand it over to Matt, and he's going to let you guys know what this episode is going to look like today.
Yeah, I'm going to do a big monologue here. I'm going to break down or do a super quick overview of each team in the AFC North's offseason, and then we'll get into our discussion. But just starting off with Baltimore, hired head coach Jesse Minter, going back to Baltimore, where he started it all a few years back. He left and went to Michigan with Jimbo Harbaugh, went to LA with him to be his DC for the past 2 years. Hired Declan Doyle to be the offensive coordinator from Chicago, one of the Ben Johnson disciples. He was the offensive coordinator in Chicago last year, now taking the job to call plays. And defensive coordinator, they hired Christian Weaver, who I was a little surprised he's not calling plays somewhere, but a nice hire. He was the defensive coordinator in Miami for a couple of years and formed. What did I say? Did I say I meant? I was thinking. I'm telling you, I was thinking of Christian Parker when I did that. Yeah, forming a really fun young staff. Key losses: they lost half their roster to the Giants. They lost tight end Isaiah Likely, fullback Patrick Ricard. I had Daniel Faalele before his big trade yesterday, and I also wrote in parentheses addition by subtraction. And punter Jordan Stout, who was an All-Pro, all to the Giants, and with Big John Harbaugh. And then they lost Tyler Linderbaum to Vegas, and then in free agency picked up Trey Hendrickson from Cincy, John Simpson played guard from the Jets, and the ageless wonder Calais Campbell from the Cardinals going back to Baltimore. And then the draft, plug and play guard Vega Ioane from Penn State, edge Zion Young from Mizzou, and some rookie receivers that could possibly take on some bit of a role. Elijah Surratt from Indiana, Jacoby Lane from USC. Down to Pittsburgh on the Allegheny River. They got Big Mike running the team, calling the plays for Big Raj in the farewell tour. Got Paisan Brian, I forgot his name again, Angelico, I can't say it, I don't know why, and Patrick Graham coming over to call the defense, who's bounced around a little bit with the G-Men and the Raiders. Key losses: Aaron Rodgers' best friend, Kenneth Gainwell, to Tampa Bay, and Isaac Seumalo to Arizona on the offensive line. Key additions: traded for Michael Pittman from Indy, picked up Jamel Dean from Tampa Bay at corner, safety Jaquan Brisker from Chi-Town, and Rico Dowdle, Mr. 200 yards from Carolina. And then in the draft, took Maxie Honicher, the behemoth of a man, Mount Becton, out of Arizona State. Got Jeremy Bernard and Caden, how do you spell? It's Weegan, right? Okay. Caden Weegan at receiver, who's going to be the returning ace, and Jennings Dunker from Iowa also. Raji coming back for final year. On to Cincy. They are the only team in the entire division that kept their head coach, and it's probably the one that's the weakest, Zach Taylor. Offensive coordinator is Dan Pitcher, and then defensive coordinator is Al Golden, coming in year 2 from Notre Dame. Key losses were Trey Hendrickson to Baltimore and Joseph Osai to the Jets, and both starting safeties, which were also addition by subtraction with Geno Stone and Cam Taylor-Britt. Key additions, a lot of big ones on the defensive line. They traded for Sexy Dexy from the Giants, signed Jonathan Allen from Washington, and signed Boye Mafe from Seattle at edge, and then picked up Steeler legend Kyle Duggar in the process. And in the draft, they took Cassius Howell in the second round from Texas A&M at edge, and center Connor Liu out of Iowa. And for the misery by the lake, the Cleveland Browns, head coach Todd Monken calling plays in Baltimore for a little bit. 70-year-old head coach with Shedeur Sanders. See how that works out. Offensive coordinator Travis Switzer. Is it Ryan's brother? We don't know. And Mike Rutenberg. Don't know much about him. quite telling about the state of this franchise. Key losses, the greatest pass rusher of our generation. We have offensive tackle Jack Conklin, tight end David Njoku to the Chargers, and Wyatt Teller to Houston. But they signed an entirely new offensive line that I totally forgot about before I did this research 2 hours ago. They got Titus Howard, Eldon Jenkins, and Zion Johnson, and signed the linebacker Quincy Williams, and also drafted Spencer Fano in the first round to, like I said, remake the whole offensive line. Drafted Casey Concepcion, or Kevin, from Texas A&M in the first round, and then picked up Denzel Boston, receiver from Washington, and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety out of Maction, Toledo. So that's the quick overview. Where do we begin with the team breakdown?
Yeah, so piggybacking off that whole overview, going through the offseason and everything leading into the regular season, we'll go through what we think the division is going to look like, quick analysis within, and we'll kind of discuss together. So for the AFC North, I'll go in order. I had Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Browns. Finishing top, I got the Ravens first I had them at 12 wins, at 12-5. Similar to the Steelers, I think it's going to be a rejuvenated kind of team year with the new regime. I think Lamar bounces back, maybe not to MVP Lamar, but I think he'll be, right there back to what, his regular self. I think Declan Doyle is going to be awesome. I think Zay Flowers is going to be a lot more elusive in this offense this time. Henry is ageless wonder. He'll get by the end of the year, he'll be at probably 1,400 and double-digit touchdowns again. I'm a little worried about the defense, a little bit. I feel like they lost some key pieces on both the O-line offensively, and then on defense, just a couple kind of like stalwarts that they kind of lost. But historically, if you know anything about kind of Baltimore and how they've drafted, they always replace within. Even if it's not in the beginning of the year and they struggle, even like by the end, they'll kind of figure it out. I loved the Jesse Minter hire. It just felt Baltimore. It just felt very seamless. So they're my division winner. But I think it'll be a close race with the Steelers, and I tried to keep bias out of it. I went through the division. I always thought they were going to be going into this, at least the last couple months. I thought they'd be about a 10-win team, but I thought the 10 wins would look differently than it has in years past. I thought it would be a lot more offensive centric. I think they're going to score. I think the offense is actually going to be pretty good, which we haven't been able to say in 9 years, legitimately 9 years. I don't like the defense. I think it's aging. I think there's still holes. I know Patrick Graham is going to bring some life and some energy, and I'm sure he'll have some games where he really does impress you. I think there's going to be others where they probably get torn apart again still, whether that's through the run, just because they don't have like the set personnel that they usually do historically for the run. And then and the back end just older. TJ's not the same player he was. He's probably good in a nutshell and when he needs to be, but he's not going to be the force multiplier that we've become accustomed to. So I had them at 11-6 when I went through the schedule. It might have been a little optimistic. They're a 10-11 win team in my mind, but I think they're going to be a well-rounded team. I think the biggest difference you're going to see is they have a gauntlet after the bye starting like week 8, week 9. And usually they would probably lay down and die in a couple of those games because they were like defensive minded, and they would lose these they would be low scoring until halftime and then get blown out in the second half just because the offense is going to keep up. The O-line wasn't holding up. I think that you're going to see that the most market change for that under McCarthy. I think the offensive line is going to be, as long as the penalties stay away, I think they're going to be strong and stabilized for the first time in a while since the peak Ben days and all that. And I think they're going to score. I think they're going to score a good amount of points. I think you're going to actually see multiple 30-point games that we've become foreign, which is crazy to say. I think Raj plays good. I think Raj probably plays better than he did last year, which he played pretty well. But he was limited. He had to throw to Gainwell, and he had to throw, as a PB gun offense for 90% of it. You didn't get the full experience out of him. Granted, he's going to struggle a game or here with the mobility, but that's the league we're in. Cincinnati, it's the same old if you ask me. Do I like the Dexter Lawrence addition? Yes. Do I think he'll make a difference? Yeah. Do I think Burrow's going to miss games like he always does because the O-line won't protect him? Probably. That's why I put them at 9 and not 10 or 11. I don't think Zach Taylor's that good of a head coach. Gun to my head, I'm not sure he's a good coach. Played in the Super Bowl. He could thank Joe Burrow's run for that, but, so be it. So I had them 9 and 8. Just not to, jump ahead, but just missing the playoffs as pretty much as their specialty. I guarantee you the defense is still in probably the back quarter end. The offense will score points when they're healthy. Jamar will get his. T will get his. Chase Brown probably has a monster year. But again, how long can they stay healthy? I don't believe that they'll ever stay healthy fully, and this is probably going to be Joe's last year if you had to ask. But we'll see. Not to go too crazy. And then obviously the Browns rounding out the division, 3-14. Yeah, exactly. The bottom dweller, historical, bottom dweller of the division. And in fairness, they can't compete with these three other teams. They just don't obviously have the quarterback or the head coach or anything. The defense will be competitive a little bit. I think Jim Short's gonna be a bigger loss than people are making it out to be. He was so good for them. They'll be good. They'll be a tough defense. Like going to Cleveland won't be an easy game, but I think you can curb stomp them when they come to your place. Honestly, in the second half of games, Schlesinger is a good piece to build off. But besides that, not much going. Everyone knows they're going for Arch or whoever it may be next year. So. That's what I got.
All right. Going to my standings here. I went Baltimore, 1, Cincinnati, then Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Starting with Baltimore, you did a good job explaining kind of like the same stuff I would say. Jesse Minter, great hire. Exactly what they should have done is what they did with that hire. They got Hendrickson, but also lost a couple guys. I think Lamar's gonna have a pretty good year. He just has to stay healthy, and for the most part, I think he will. And Flowers is gonna have a big year. I had them going 12-5 at the top of the division. I mean, not much to say there. For Cincinnati, I'm a little bit different than you. I think they're going to be more healthy this year. I'm at 11-6. This is a huge year for them. Zach Taylor is going to get canned if he doesn't turn his act around pretty quick. So they have to do something here. The Bengals have been missing the playoffs. What is it? 3 years in a row. Burrow got to be healthy. I know obviously it's a big if, but T. Higgins, there's a lot of ifs. That's why I kind of question this. But in my heart, I feel like this is the year that they turn it around and they kind of go back to their old ways of the offense rolling, staying healthy. And the defense also got some good additions. So let's hope that works out for them. And then Pittsburgh, 10-7. But like you said, it's going to be a different 10-7. I don't expect the stagnant offense like years past. I think they're going to move the ball around. I like the Bernard pick a lot, personally. Pittman's great, and it rounded out their receiver room because you got Metcalf, Pittman, Bernard, and then Freiermuth, obviously, with the run game of Dowdle and Warren. I really like the offense, honestly. If Rodgers could stay in the pocket, get the ball out quick, which he's known for doing, I think they're going to put up points. And the defense, obviously, just got to be a little bit better than last year.
I think he's going to put up a career high in rushing also.
Yeah, Jukes. But no. They're like you said, you don't want to jump too far because we're going to talk about like the playoff standings or whatever. But I do think they're going to get in. It's a loaded AFC this year. I know we were talking about that. It's like more loaded this year.
Very.
I do think they get in.
Yeah, when you go team by team, like or schedule by schedule, you're like,
yeah,
wow, good teams are getting left out.
It's like 10 teams per second.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then lastly, Cleveland. Yeah, man, 4-13. I could have been more rude with that, but I think it's gonna be literally all division wins, like splits. Besides maybe one, I don't remember what I did. We'll talk about that after. But 4-13, another bad year, but you can't really expect much when your QB room has Dylan Gabriel. I wish we had that picture that I sent you guys earlier with Dylan Gabriel in a robe, but whatever. Maybe we'll put that up in the clip or whatever. 4-13, Cleveland. That rounds about my list.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much right where you guys are. I was taking a look at the Steelers' schedule. It actually isn't as bad as I thought. Yeah, but like these teams aren't like, if you remember 2 years ago when we went on like the streak with Russ and whatever, and then we had like the Eagles, the Chiefs, like all this, and we went on like a crazy losing streak. Like we actually were in place to secure the division and have home field advantage in the playoffs, and then went down to a wild card, and that was that Ravens game when we got absolutely obliterated. So I mean, with the new offense, if they can actually, and talking for the Steelers here, if they can get the ball down the middle of the field like the way it should be, and not the dump offs and all this like other nonsense, and actually let Rodgers like work in a good system, I think it'd be really cool to see. For the rest of the division, I feel like it's just like broken record every year, honestly, with this division. I feel like nothing changes as long as Jackson, as long as Lamar and I know Rodgers is there now, but whatever, like Lamar and Burrow are there, like it's always going to be the same thing. Same thing with Burrow. Everyone knows it. As long as he stays healthy, they got a chance of going and getting a playoff run in. But if not, like they are just and their boy Jake Browning, I think, is in Tampa now. Yeah, so he's out. I don't know who their backup option is.
Flacco.
Oh, Flacco's back there. Okay, yeah. The Browns don't know who's starting for them. And Lamar's Lamar. Like Paul was saying before, if he can get back to where he could be, I always a dangerous team, super dangerous team. It's just a matter of if they're going to take that next step in the playoffs, which we haven't seen yet. Like very similar to the Bills, honestly, with that same talent and all around solid team. And, we'll see what happens. A lot of these teams have new head coaches this year. It's a really different, landscape of this league. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what we got.
Ready? So they do the Saints game in Paris, then they get Cleveland home. Perfect. They go on a bye. They go to Cincy, go to Philly, then the Broncos come home for the Thanksgiving Day, and then they on a short week. Oh, no. They get at least a long week. Houston comes back for the playoff matchup at Jacksonville, host the Ravens, host the Panthers, and you get a break with the Titans at Tennessee, and then at Baltimore for possibly the division.
Ew.
They better be 6-3 minimum at the bye. Not to get ahead, but I don't think Jacksonville's crazy either. But it's after those games, it's just gonna beat.
I don't
you
think
up.
Jacksonville's going to be this
Me
good.
neither.
That
But all
good
right,
this year.
not to get into the South or anything. But that's
No,
it.
but-
That's all I'm saying. It'll be interesting. They'll be all right. They're gonna score points. They're gonna be in the games. Unlike
I'm not-
you brought up with Russ and everything.
I'm not
but
super worried. That's all I'm saying. I'm not like these aren't teams that like are gonna,
I keep
make
saying
me
it.
keep me up at night. That's it.
I keep telling like Ivano was asking me. He's like, "What do you think?" Whatever. Shout out Nick, fellow Steeler fan. But I told like even in the losses, we're gonna feel better because you might see like a 31-29 loss, not a agonizing 20-13, like 20-16, 19-16 loss. You know what I mean? So no, he's gonna go. Your chance to go.
At almost everything
Well,
you
just
guys
give your
said.
thing, then. You don't have to give as much. I mean, up to you, but
I'll just say I agree with everything you guys said. Like it's the division, like Grant said, it's basically just like the same thing every year. Even though Minter's the coach for the Ravens now, and we don't have Tomlin,
Little tweaks, little different tweaks.
Yeah.
all around.
well, one team with it.
but the Browns, it doesn't make a difference for them. It's like the Browns have good pieces. It just never works out for them. Like the Bengals, like I have them like at like 10. I was debating like 11 wins making the playoffs, but like I mean it's possible. It's all if Joe Burrow stays healthy. They did upgrade the defense, but it's still not great. I don't know. Like the Steelers, like we won 10 games last year. It's always an ugly 10 games with Tomlin. If like you're telling me like we can win one more game with Michael Pittman and Jeremy Bernard, like Rodgers might have his best year in what like 4 years now. Because like no, since 2021, like he's been his best offensive year because he finally he hasn't like we have an offensive coach. He has real weapons again. Last year he put up 25 touchdowns in 15 games and that was with Jonnu Smith as his second option. So like I think he can get to 30 touchdowns and I think the defense is going to be upgraded this year. I think the defense will be upgraded this year because Patrick Graham is actually a real defensive coach in today's league and not stubborn and stuck in his ways like Tomlin was. So I think they're going to move a couple guys around. They got Jamal Dean, who was awesome last year. Brisker was very good. Like they filled all the pieces that they needed to. This is a matter of if the O-line actually, if our left tackle stays healthy, and if they actually can hold Raj, if they don't make him fall on the ground every play like Joe Burrow.
I think Rodgers' realm is ready to jump in at offensive tackle, and nobody, not even Myles Garrett, will be able to get through realm if he's blocking Rodgers.
For all we know,
Life on the
he
line.
might be practicing right now with the team every day.
For me, Rob, I was like smirking. We had like the exact same thing. So outside for like a couple wins here and there, I actually had Baltimore 13 wins. I love Minter going there. I think that the 4 on defense raises significantly. Like remember the past couple years where they started like all time bad. I think having one of the top 7 defensive minds in the whole sport, that's going to raise, and he'll raise the expectations, all that stuff. And then if Declan Doyle hits, I think Lamar goes back to top 4 MVP voting. I think, I don't know if we're going to see the same like rushing volume that we got when he was an MVP, but I think, we've seen the progression as a passer. It's so impressive. And Big Keg Henry is going to go for like 1,500. Yeah, they're one of my favorites in the conferences. I think their defense, like I was saying, I think it's going to be all right. Nate Wiggins is solid. Matabike is healthy. Maybe you get some pass rush juice from Zion or Trey. I feel like I don't have big expectations for Trey, but even if he's anything, it's good. And if you, again, on Mike Green too, if you get him or Zion Young to hit, You never know. But yeah, I think this is one of the very legit contenders in the AFC. I pushed all the coins to the middle on the Bengals. I'm ready to beat hurt. I had them at 11 wins also. I just can't quit it. I just look back at what their defenses have been when no, like even when he's out and they're just like they somehow end up at 8-9, 9-8, even when he's missing 10 games. I just feel like if we get a healthy year, like you guys have been saying, I think with these veteran additions like Dex and Jonathan Allen, they could probably be able to stop the run now. If you get anything out of, you just paid Mafe, if you get anything out of Cassius, which is I know it's a lot to ask for like a first year pass rusher, but I love it. I had a stat here. I said like even if they're hovering around like the 16 to 20 range in defense, even a little worse. I think that's still I think Tom and Jerry's going on upstairs. I still think the ceiling of the offense is like number one in the whole league and can carry like it's carried this team to be right on the cusp of a playoff even without Joe. So I just think but I also don't like Zach Taylor at all. I did have a fun stat for everyone for about Zach Taylor. So they ranked dead last year in NFL time wasted timeouts. Think about this. They had 22 timeouts used in the first or third quarter. Why? 22. Yeah, that's just bad. It's really bad. Uh-huh. And the defense also ranked top 3 in penalties and penalty yards. So
So it screams unprepared.
yeah, unprepared, but I don't know. This is the only I feel like I've changed how I look at teams a lot. Like I used to be like, you know what, high powered offense, whatever. This is the only one in the whole league that I'm just like kind of almost mindlessly saying like I just trust this so much. And then the Steelers, I think Paul, when you did your Steeler thing, I think you hit on every bullet point I had. So I'm not gonna really say much. I had them at 10 wins, but with conference tiebreakers, I had them out of the playoffs. But I think they're right there. And like you said, like you guys all said, the way they're gonna win and lose games is gonna look so much different and a lot more fun. But it just happened that the tiebreaker had them losing the 7 seed for me. And then the Browns, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah.
There's nothing really to add.
Yep.
I don't really know. Yeah, I had 3 and 14 also, but I had 13 wins for Baltimore, 11 for Cincy, 10 for Pittsburgh, 3 for Cleveland.
So all in all, pretty good division. Pretty much the same type of thing, right? We're all in agreement. Baltimore probably takes that expected, step back or
Right.
a step forward again,
NFC North time, the Kaiju division. So we're going to start off in Indiana with the Chicago Bears. Head coach Ben Johnson established himself as one of the league's best. Lost Declan Doyle as OC. Doesn't really matter. They have Press Harris Taylor, but Ben's calling the offense. And defensive coordinator is Big Dennis Allen. Key losses, we had Jaquan Brisker to Pittsburgh. Drew Dahlman at 29 retired all of a sudden, which made no sense. Well wishes. Hopefully you start a family. Linebacker Tremaine Edmonds to the Giants, and in a Brandon Bean masterclass, gave up a second round pick for DJ Moore. Mind blowing stuff. Key additions, Kobe Bryant, who is out 8 months. It's a good start to the offseason. And Devin Bush at linebacker also. And in the draft, they took one of my favorite players in the draft, white boy Dylan Thieneman at safety, who's going to have to step up in Mr. Bryant's absence. Next, Minnesota head coach KOC. It does really not matter who the offensive coordinator is. He's calling plays, and defensive coordinators. Another one of my favorites, Brian Flores. That's like probably my favorite coaching tandem in the whole league. Key losses on the defensive line: Jonathan Allen, who went to Cincy, and Jonathan Grenard, who was traded to Philly. Shout out John Grace, and wide receiver Jalen Naylor, who went to the Raiders. For key additions, they signed Juwan Jennings as a nice wide receiver 3, and mini-me Kyler Murray, who is looking for a career resurgence. And in the draft, a big swing factor for this team, defensive lineman Caleb Banks, who has injury concerns, but if he's healthy, is a force. And then we got the Detroit Lions, who went from first to worst. Head coach Dan Campbell hired Drew Petzig as the offensive coordinator from the Cardinals, and defensive coordinator is Robbie's favorite, Calvin Shepard, with his hair. Key losses. Speaking of hair, Alex Anzalone, linebacker, went to Tampa Bay, and my darling David Montgomery was traded away to the Texans, opening up Alvin Kamara Jr.'s run. Key additions: Cade Mays, who had a good one a couple days ago. He looks to be out for the year, and he might have to start a family. And Isaiah Pacheco, who definitely needs to start a family at running back. Shout out to Piscataway. And in the draft, had a lot of shuffles on the offensive line, but drafted someone who was essentially a 5-year starter from Blake Miller from Clemson, who will be plug and play. And then Green Bay. Head coach Matt LaFleur and new defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. He's going to have those guys. You think they take the bus?
I was just
Or-
gonna say,
yeah.
how many of y'all drove here or
Sweet.
took the bus here?
No.
Raise a hand.
Yeah, you got fire in your
You
gut.
remember the oh my god. I was gonna say the Rondell Moore clip. Rest in peace, Rondell Moore. But that's crazy. I actually think about that. But remember when he was like, when he was excited, he like dapped him up. He was like, "Bro, crazy explosive," and he goes, "Explosives."
Dude, the Kyler one,
Yeah.
Kyler was like, yeah.
Ready, dog.
Key losses. I'm going to have to take a breath here. Linebacker Quay Walker, edge Rashawn Gary, wide receiver Romeo Dobbs, quarterback Malik Willis, offensive lineman Eldon Jenkins, Rasheed Walker. And key additions, are they key? I think I just put them. I actually wrote Zaire Karis Franklin at linebacker and Javon Hargrave.
Real quick, shout out Rasheed Walker. He was the guy that after they won the first game or two said they're gonna go undefeated. By the
I
way.
think they did.
that
go
went well
undefeated.
too.
And then in the draft, they didn't have a first round pick, and they selected Brandon Cisse, cornerback out of South Carolina, who's probably going to need to play also, and as well as defensive lineman Chris McClellan out of Mizzou. I'm going to pass it to Boss. Start it off, bro.
All right. Well, I might have some different opinions about this division than the rest of you. I'm not sure, but I know what Paul was saying the other day when we were talking about it. But I'm just gonna start it off with the Lions. I have them around like 13 wins this year. I just think they're gonna have a bounce back year after last year. They were still awesome offensively last year. They're always banged up, especially their O-line was hurt a lot. Even though I know they just lost their center for the
Everything
year.
was hurt for them.
Yeah, they're always banged up, but I think they have a last place schedule now, and they were still 9-8. Like they weren't that bad. Like they were still always a competitive football team. They were just in one of the best divisions in football, and I think I don't know. I feel like they got unlucky a couple of times, like with their injuries and everything. Every single time I look at their schedule, I see an easy 12 wins, like without a doubt, 12, 13 wins. And then I think, I don't know, I'm always very high on Green Bay, but after looking at all the moves, they didn't make any moves, and all the losses that they had, and Micah's not going to be back until probably like mid-October, the earliest. I mean, I have them at like 11 wins here, but I think I might change that to like maybe 9, 10, if that. Like I still think by the time Micah comes back, the beginning of their schedule is pretty easy. Like they can sneak in like 4 wins. And then when Micah comes back, they can get to like 10 wins. It's not like
They've got a gauntlet week 3. They go to MetLife, or what is it? They go to MetLife, or Jets go to them?
No, the Cade Klubnik travels to Detroit week 3.
I mean, it's Green Bay. Like I feel like they're always going to be in it. It's honestly kind of like the Steelers a little bit. Like they're always going to be in the 10, 11 wins area. And then did I even talk about the Bears yet? I didn't talk about the Bears, right? I have them at 12. I have them at 12-5. I think Caleb's going to take a huge jump. I think if Burden's healthy, he's going to be like a top 10 receiver this year. I just think, I don't know. I think the offense is going to get better. Caleb's going to be a more accurate quarterback. They already had 11 wins last year, and he wasn't like this unreal quarterback during the regular season. If he just puts it all together, he can easily be the MVP. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I know I can see them being the first in the division, but I just think the Lions schedule is so much easier. And then I have the Vikings at like 9-10 wins. I just think they won 9 games last year with JJ McCarthy. Like Kyler Murray is levels ahead of JJ McCarthy, so they can win like one more game.
Real quick, you know what's crazy? The Lions benefited from a last place schedule because they lost a tiebreaker to Minnesota last year. That's crazy.
I know. Everyone thinks Minnesota was horrible last year, which they were, like offensively, but they still won. They still won 9 games. Like their defense is always going to be up there. Their O-line was banged up also last year. If they like are just if their line's healthy and Kyler just plays decent, they can win 10 games. Like it's not like impossible for them to do. Like Jay Jet's obviously going to have a better year. Addison, I don't know. He's always consistent. But yeah, that's basically what I have.
Right. For my division winner, it's that team right there, Minnesota Vikings.
Wow.
I'm all in. I think just going off what you said, they won 9 games with junior varsity level quarterback play. I think if you get this is one of the best coaches in the league in KOC. If you get any sort of buy-in from Kyler, I think they can easily win 3 more games. So I have them winning my NFC North at 12-5.
Call of Duty comes out in like mid-October though.
That's when 9 steps in and he plays.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, he goes undefeated the rest of the way. But I just love it. I think it's like man, if they didn't get rid of Sam, this is just a sleeping giant I wrote down. I love everything about this team besides just needing the buy-in from the little guy. I said, although he has shortcomings, pun intended, a budding Kyler really doesn't need to do much. You just can facilitate, use the legs to extend plays. And, I think, they got Justin. They have a good receiver room. They have a fine running game with good Jones back there. And the defense is loaded at pretty much every level. Caleb Banks coming in. They signed your guy's boy, James Pierre. I just love this team. I think, playing in a division like this where it's like, I'll get to it, but it's going to be super tight. I just think that if you get league average play from Kyler, I think they're right up there for a real deal contender that you'll see in the NFC Championship game. So I have them at 12 wins as my 2 seed. Next I got the Bears. Like you were saying, I mean, this is a pro Caleb podcast. We're pushing Iceman agendas. And, all goes right. If he cleans up the efficiency and the accuracy issues, you might be looking at Madden cover and the MVP of the league. But
Or Madden curse.
No. Going off that, something I thought of today. I was just looking at this. I don't want to put it in the air because I like this team a lot. I could just envision this being the injury bug team. I don't know why. I guess because Kobe Bryant got hurt already. I don't know what it is, but I just want to get that off my chest. But defense is iffy, but I just trust. Dennis Allen held it together last year. I think he'll do it again. I think the offense only gets that much better. And then I have them at 11-6 as my what? I have them at 10-7 as my 7 seed. And I also have the Lions at 10-7, but missing the playoffs with tiebreakers. If they make the playoffs, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is Offensive Player of the Year. I think they could scheme up a good run game. That's really like all Arizona really had was a nice run scheme. And I think him finally being the bell cow, he could probably rack up 800 receiving yards if they really want to do that to him. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs. They reworked the O-line. They moved Penne to left tackle. They're putting in a 5-year starter at right tackle. I just am mortified with that secondary. Like the 2 safeties are coming off injury, and I think Rocky and DJ Reed are there. I mean, DJ's fine, but outside scary hours there. So I have them at 10 wins, and then Green Bay I don't have making the playoffs. They lost a lot, and they didn't do enough to gain ground in the best division in the league. I think they probably split the division to me, and then, they'll get their wins outside the conference, in my opinion. And yeah, I see them at like a really, really ugly 9-8, and that's my prediction.
Didn't they end 9-8 last year? Green Bay. They were like 9-3, and then they lost like 6 in a row after Micah got hurt.
Grant.
Yeah, I mean, I think that let me just go back here. I think these guys got the lead in this division. The Bears. I don't have any like records or anything, but I'm just gonna bounce off you guys. Whoa. Bounce off of what you guys said. Didn't the Bears get as far as any team in this division last year? Right? They made it to the division.
Yeah, they were the only team that weren't they the only team that made the playoffs?
No,
No,
the
the Packers.
Packers.
Jesus
Remember the
Christ.
24-hour lead?
Yeah. Right.
I did the
So
same thing.
I think that this team is really solid all around, and I think it's time like Ben Johnson is going to make that leap. I think so, and Caleb's super talented, and they got a lot of guys who are ready to play. The second team that I would say in this division right now, I don't want to talk about the Vikings until I could see like what Kyler could do. If he can just do at least what he did in Arizona for this team, like they'd be solid just because they're always going to be like they're kind of forming into the Steelers in that sense, where with the coach that they have right now, they're always going to be in like contention. You know what I mean? Skull. And yeah, like the Lions, I don't know. I think they might have had like that one of those things where it's like they had those 1 or 2 good seasons, and like I don't know if they can go back to that, right? Like even though they do have a lot of talent all around, but with that division now, because of the fact that all the other teams around them, started building up to fight that.
When they lost that NFC Championship game a couple years ago, the blown lead against San Fran, what did Danny Campbell say after the game? He goes, "You don't know how many of these you're going to get back to." He's not wrong. It was a little morbid at the time for a young, kind of up-and-coming team, but he's not wrong. We say it all the time. Like when,
Didn't they lose the Commanders also?
Yeah,
but,
that
like,
was
that was the year after that when they were what they win 15 games that year? Yeah. Did they go 15-2? Yeah, that was when they were the division over Sam.
Both 14-3, but they had. But
That
the
really
Lions
is
had.
so crazy if you think about it. Both teams winning 14, but
Yeah. So, yeah, that's really all I got. And the Packers, I don't think the Packers are going to make the playoffs this year. I think Jordan Love's good, but yeah, I'm not really bought in on a lot of what they did in the offseason. And yeah, I'll pass it along to Rob though to share some more
I
insight.
have a question. If you guys actually like, if we all say like the Packers have a down year, you think LaFleur is going to get fired? I think
I hope so.
I think he will, because I think last year when they were losing 5-6 in a row, that was a discussion, and now if they don't make
Matt
the
LaFleur's a
playoffs,
good football coach. But
I
I'll
agree
let Rob
with
go
it.
and then
All
I'll
right.
touch on it.
So for the NFC North, I had Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota last. So Chicago, I had them going 12-5, the top of the division. I love Caleb Williams so much, and the Bears. Everything about yeah,
I'm
everything.
so happy
yeah.
everyone's a Glazer.
Everything about the Bears. I like their whole like the outlook of the team. Obviously, you said Bryant's injured already, but I don't see that becoming a huge bug thing. I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFC, and right in it for probably like the top seed. And second, I have Detroit at 11-6. I do think this is going to be high on these like I was high in Cincinnati. It's a little different for Cincinnati and obviously Detroit, but like these teams that like kind of I don't know. I don't even say bottomed out, but they're like kind of like struggling a little bit and trying to get back to where they were, their peak. I think Detroit wins 11 games, has a much better year on offense. Obviously, Gibbs is not going to be sharing the workload as much anymore with anyone, so it's just going to be him. I think that's going to help a lot for Detroit. They're going to win 11 games. In third, I'm a little higher on Green Bay, not in the sense of like because obviously they didn't get any.
Finally,
Yeah, they didn't get anyone, but like I just feel like 10 games, they're going to be 10-7. I don't see such a drastic like they're gonna win 6 games. Like I just don't see it happening.
Green Bay just never bothers out like that. It just doesn't happen.
The realm that it happens realm. But I see 10-7 exactly. And last another. I guess I'm going different than you guys. I just Minnesota obviously has the talent on the roster. I just don't like Kyler at all, and I see them going 8-9. I really don't like. It's very different from like what you said, Matt. You had them like at the 2 seed in the NFC. I see them going 8-9. I don't know. It doesn't move like Kyler doesn't move me at all. But I understand that if they get someone better than 9, that they'll actually be a good team. I think that their schedule is a little on the tougher side for Minnesota, but I have them going 8-9.
all right. My favorite division in all football. So I'm gonna continue the trend with the Bears in first place. If it wasn't for an absolute behemoth of a division and and schedule that they had, I'd probably literally have them at 14 wins. I put them at 12. Going through the schedule and everything, being realistic, right? There's going to be your ups and downs, no matter how pretty much good you are, outside of maybe the Rams this year. But even then, you'll see they'll probably have a game or two. But I love everything about it's a head coach quarterback league, as we know, right? At the core. I think after this year, you might have one ahead of them that you take going forward, maybe, and that's with Stafford being 38 after this year with McVay. So going forward, you're not taking them ahead of them. So I'm going to live and die with Ben Johnson. I don't love absolutely everything about their defense. I also think, like you kind of said about Cincy, but a little more amplified for them. If they finish anywhere near mid to 10th and they're an opportunistic defense again with the turnovers, I'm fine with that. You don't need, history has shown you don't need a dominant defense to win a Super Bowl. You just need to force turnovers, bend, don't break, just don't be a sieve, and you'll be fine. So pretty much everything offensively, if they're the best offense in football, I wouldn't bat an eye. I got the Lions second. Just a peak, a true prime regression team for me. They're going to score points, obviously. You got to think the injury bug, like luck, goes on their favor at some point. They're not going to be as ravaged with these, derailing injuries every single year. Oh, real quick, I want to say Austin Booker, name to keep in mind for the Bears. That's it, off the edge. That's it. I think the Lions are just going to be a similar team as the last year, more healthy, a little better on defense. I bumped them up from when they had 9 wins last year to 11, and they get the 6 seed, and so behind the Bears in the division. I had the Bears competing, the 2 seed competing with the Rams for the 1 seed in NFC. Got the Vikings at 10 and 7. I think the Vikings can be a good team. I actually had them because the tiebreakers losing out on the playoffs, last playoff spot. Kind of stinks. I kind of wanted the Vikings to get in, but I just left like tiebreakers to do their own thing. I think Kyler will be fine. Yeah, I think he'll have his head scratching moments like he always does, but I think for the most part, KOC will harness it. I think they're going to be good. Like you said, it doesn't really get much better as a head coach, defensive coordinator tandem than KOC and Brian Flores. He'll still have his exotic looks and everything, give people trouble. So borderline playoff team, depending on how tiebreakers and things shake out. And then my bombshell of the division is the Packers, for their all intents and purposes, for their standards, bottoming out. I have them at 7 and 10. Just the way the wins and losses got to, kind of go around. It's just the way it happened. It felt crazy doing it because we've never really, not really seen it. We've never seen it. They didn't win a game without Micah last year. I don't think they're going to win a lot of games without Micah this year either. Yeah. If the Packers are, I don't know, 3 and 6, 3 and 5, Micah's like about to come back. Is it really going to get like a lot better? I don't love their offense. I think they have nice pieces. I don't think they have any great pieces. All of these teams in the divisions have like 1 or 2 guys, even 3 guys on their offense that are like playmakers. You have to game plan around them. They literally keep you up at night. Like they are game wreckers. Who's the game wrecker on Green Bay? Like right now, wrecker.
It was Josh Jacobs.
No, I'm talking about game wrecker. I'm talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Justin Jefferson, Luther Burden, Caleb. I'm talking about game wreckers.
We've seen them. Like last year, they were 9 and 3 before Micah, and like their offense
before Micah.
I mean, like before Micah went down, they were like 9 and 3. I'm saying like they were the consensus like the 1 or 2 seed last year.
Also, this is the best division of football. I'm saying start to finish. It's not the West.
It always is. It's been
maybe best teams, but I'm saying they are the best from top to bottom.
I just think like the whole big name thing doesn't really matter for them. Like they still produce a great offense every year.
I will say, they won't be your typical 7 and 10 team. I don't think they're going to be like
they might end games in shootouts every single day.
I don't
week.
like their defense. I don't love their defense.
Without Micah,
I don't think they addressed
really
anything this offseason. If anything, they got worse from that wild card game. I'm not anti Jordan Love. I like Jordan Love. I just think this is going to be one of those weird years you kind of look back at. Like Green Bay just wasn't all that competitive. I think they're definitely 4th in a pecking order in this division. Of course, injuries can change that, but as things stand, something's gonna win out. I really don't. I don't love the Packers at all this year, and like you mentioned before, would LaFleur get fired? Green Bay's not Arizona, so if they actually go 6 and 11, 7 and 10, yeah, he probably is gone, which is kind of crazy to think about. But
Daddy, come on down to Forum Park next winter.
He'll have suitors. He'll have plenty of suitors, but
Packers.
Yeah. Kind of my bold.
I actually flirted with it, but I ended up with like 9 and 8 just out of
respect
for Jordan Love.
It's probably the reality of what ends up happening. But
I mean, like when stacked up, like I don't like doing the guys for guys thing either, but when stacked up in a division like this, it does end up making a difference. It's 6 games on it. Yeah.
Not half, but you know what I mean. But I will say, like most other divisions, probably a 9-win team. You know what I mean? But it's not how it goes, you know. Like this is their division, and this, in fairness, it's the division they've ran for pretty much forever, and it's just going to be one of those weird years. I don't know, just weird vibes. The whole Jacobs off the field thing didn't rub me the right way. I want to believe in Matthew Golden. I really do. Do I really think he's going to be a guy? I don't. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be like that guy. And then you have a bunch of Jaden Reeds and Christian Watsons, and we know Christian Watson's going to take his government mandated obligatory 9 weeks off. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying like I just, who am I missing? I mean, Kraft is awesome. I'll shout out Tucker. He's awesome. He's a baller.
It's just another
It's
guy
just-
coming off an injury.
I was going
too.
to say
Like all
off
their
an
impact
injury.
guys besides Love are like
Questions, at least
right.
a little question mark.
I didn't realize how they just did not replace anyone on
Nothing.
the online. On the online, like that's bad. And if Jacobs is actually hurt, that's just not going to end well for them.
Even like this could be like a stupid like conversation, but like even Rodgers last year, there was a weird year for them. They still like finished with a winning record. I'm pretty sure 9-8,
They
right?
missed
Yeah,
playoffs.
they were not in
But they missed the playoffs. I feel like it could be like something like this in a way. Like it's just like a weird year, like you said, and it could honestly 7-10 is really like I had them at 10-7. And looking at it now, like from like all like the people they lost, like I wasn't really thinking like too much about that. I'm like, it's a lot of these games that like I had them like upset against Buffalo. Like I didn't even think
Like
they-
I was psycho. I was clinically insane for how long I spent, how much time. Like I'm ashamed to admit that I spent on going through the schedules, but I don't care. I love this stuff.
It's embarrassing,
I really went there. Like after I ended up doing it in the order, like through the teams that I thought it was going to finish in, and then like based on that, the standings would kind of carve itself out, pump itself out, whatever. So I went Bears, Lions, Vikings, Packers, and as I was going through the Packers, like keeping the Micah thing in mind and everything we just went through, like I genuinely didn't have them favorites or coming out of those, like a lot of those games, you know? And then the whole like Mike is going to come back. Yeah, but is their season pretty much like over in this division when Micah comes back? I mean, it's going to be what, like late October, early November? I really don't think so. I don't see it.
Even if he does come back earlier, he's not going to be
That's what I'm
Micah
saying.
until
Thanksgiving
last
probably, right? Like
week.
and then their seasons, like you can't go 2-3 games under 500 in this division.
That wraps up our episode for today, guys. Next episode, we are going to be doing the AFC and NFC South. So we'll catch you there. Sunday sauce out. Peace.